Welcome back to the Coach's Show with Coach Tommy Tice. We just got done watching all the highlights of last week's big win in Week 1 of the Goblin football season as the Harrison Goblins defeated the Sheridan Yellow Jackets 28-14. Coach, some of the good things that come out. Jackson Dorman played a whale of a game, we thought. As you mentioned, well over 100 yards for us. Great improvement running north and south versus east and west. I talked about Brandon Davis, I thought played extremely well. You want to compliment the entire defensive line.
Well, you know, when you talk about Jackson, you got to talk about that offensive line, and that's our most experienced part of our football team. And Jackson, be first to tell you, he was getting the football and not being contacted until he got past the line of scrimmage, which gives him an opportunity to operate a little bit. And then when it got dark, he planted that foot and he went north and south and finished off his runs. And we talk about finishing off the run, we mean by keeping our feet moving until we get to the ground and falling forward. Never fall backward. That's finishing off a run, and we keep up with how many yards a back makes after he's made contact. That's the most important part of the back. What happens after he gets hit? You know, I didn't think we turned the ball over. Like I say, I called the last pass play. Probably shouldn't have called it, but anyway, we turned the football over twice. We'd like to cut that out. Got that to work on. Had a few penalties. Like to get all those things on our side, and I think we'll be fine. Loved the kicking game. I loved every facet of the kicking game. I thought our kickoff team, of course, with John kicking out of the end zone, pretty easy coverage on that. We're going to have to do some things. Looked like they overloaded us a time or two when we went with what we call our Chuck Norris or our shotgun punt. So we're going to have to pick that up, and Tate's going to have to bring a back over to pick up the extra man. But these are things that you just have to work on. But all in all, first night out, very, very pleased. The thing I'm really pleased with, the effort. And that should be a given. A Goblin effort should be expected and given every time we play. And if it's not, then we're going to be very, very disappointed, because that's the one thing that we're always going to do. We're going to play hard and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, I'll tell you, I talked with Jim Fitzgerald and myself. We each talked to Lewis Campbell ourselves, but I'll tell you what he told us. He said, "Don't ever believe a word you said."
That's true.
It's what he told me.
That's true. Oh, Lewis, he told Jim Fitzgerald he wanted him to send him a roster because he thought I'd send him one that wasn't correct. I said, well, Lewis, the thing about it is you sent us a film. I couldn't even make out the number, so I didn't know if it was your team or somebody else's team that you sent us the film. So, that's the way coaches are. We like to go at each other.
Now, I was talking with him that next year, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but next year we make the trip down to Sheridan.
We go to Sheridan. That's right.
As a home-and-home type series.
Home-and-home situation. It's a long way for an opener. You'd rather play a lot closer. But that was the only game, that either one of us could find. So that's why it's on the schedule. I'm sure in 2012 we're both going to be trying to find closer opponents for an opening round. But if not, it's always good to play old friends. And it was good to see Lewis and his son Shep, and they're doing an excellent job down there. And they'll get the program on solid ground. You don't build a program from the top down. You build a program from the bottom up. And so it's going to take a year or two for them to get their feet on the ground and get things going like they want it done. They're in a very tough conference. That's not uncommon for us either.
Right.
But they're in a very tough conference with El Dorado, Texarkana, and Pine Bluff, and people like that. So, they can't make the mistakes that they made here Friday night and hope for any success in that league.
Let's talk about this Friday night. It's going to be Pink Out night out at FS Garrison Stadium, and the Mountain Home Bombers come across from Baxter County. And this is always a fun game. It's a big rivalry game. Coach Benji Mahan is his first year over there, coming over from the Springdale program. They got a big win over Nettleton coming over here, and both teams 1-0. Excuse me. This looks like it's going to be a fun Friday night.
Well, it's it is a big rivalry game. It means a lot to our town. Certainly means a lot to Mountain Home. Both of us wear blue and gold. It's a game that we both point to. We compete against each other in every sport. When I first came to Harrison, they beat us 2 of the first 3 years that I was here. Matter of fact, they beat us 3 of the first 4. And I remember the superintendent bringing me in and said, "Son, if you're going to hang around here, you better learn to beat them every now and then." And so since I've been here, we've won about 22 ball games, lost 6, and tied 1.
Wow.
So I'm very proud to be here, and I took it to heart what they were telling me. But they have a very good football team. They opened the season with a win over Nettleton. They're a very huge offensive line, one of the biggest offensive lines that we'll see. Running backs run hard. They remind you of Dorman. They're going to run downhill. Tommy Falucia is the quarterback, 2-year starter. beat us over there last year. They got a good football team. Benji Mahan has taken over. Shane Patrick has moved on to Springdale. Of course, Benji's an old Bomber, an ex-Bomber, who got his grew up coaching wise with Barry Lunny, and they do lots of things that Bentonville does, where Barry's at. And we'll see a lot of 2 tight ends and a lot of 1 back set, and you'll think it's they'll be up under center most of the time, but they'll go shotgun. 2 guys are going to run it. But, they have 2 good backs, number 23, number 20. But Tommy Felucia, the quarterback, is where everything operates out of, and he's a very, very fine player. Defensively, big and strong up front, going to run to the football very well. They'll be like us. They'll be in a 3-4 defense, and they'll try to keep everything inside where the pursuit can catch up with it. And it ought to be a great game. I think if we are ahead of them anywhere, it might be in the kicking game a little bit. Of course, with John Colliver, you ought to be ahead in the kicking game.
You ought to be ahead.
And if we're able to, take and match what he did the other night or come close, we'll be really good in the punt game too.
His net average has got to be in the high 40s.
Well, I'd say, of course, most punters are backed up 15 yards, and Tate lines up about 7 from the line of scrimmage, so his average is always going to be a little misleading, if you know what I mean.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the schedule coming up. Then after the Mountain Home game, and I know you are thinking about it, but you don't want the team thinking too much about it. But we're going to make the trip to Van Buren, which is good couple-hour bus ride over there. They got a big win beating Alma. We talked about that off the show. Alma's missing kind of a couple of players. They'll be ready by the time the conference season starts. And then we open conference play down in Greenbrier. The local boy, Neil Burcham, is their quarterback. He is an all-state player. He can throw it. We'll be excited to play Greenbrier. And then we're in a conference play when the season's down to it and where we're playing for all the marbles. We're looking forward, exciting Goblin football conference time, because that's when things happen. Then we come back. It's homecoming against Siloam Springs, which is kind of a different that we're going to be playing them now in the middle of the year versus during the end of the game. Usually that's the last game of the year. That'll be exciting to be back at FS Garrison Stadium after being on the road for a few weeks.
Well, that's true. Siloam moves in the middle of the schedule because Huntsville came back into the league, which will probably be just with us 2 years. But it is a really good schedule. It's a very ambitious schedule. When you start off scrimmaging somebody like Batesville, who is probably the best team they've had in a long, long time, then you pick up a 6A team like Sheridan, a 6A team like Mountain Home, and then Van Buren is a 7A football team. It should get us ready for the conference race, because the conference race in the 5A West is top to bottom the toughest conference around, except with maybe the 7A West. It's just there's no easy ones on it. I mean, you start out with Greenbrier,
right.
Siloam Springs. You go with Greenwood. You play Morrilton, who played really close with Russellville. You play Valonia and people like that. And Siloam Springs, like I said, it's just tough. Then you throw in Alma, and it's just a great, great conference. And you better be ready every night out. And this young football team that we have has got to be battle-hardened veterans by the time we go to Greenbrier, because that's our first real, it's the first conference game, and it's on the road. And everybody, again, you can forget all the things that happened up to that point. Those are just preliminaries, you know. And we're working on a lot on toughness. I expect the Goblins to be tougher than anybody else. We're not going to lay on the field out there with a cramp and things like that. I want them to get up and get off the field. I don't want them to scare their mamas, because their daddies are up there sitting next to them, and they don't want them scared either. But anyway, we've got to develop that kind of toughness, mental and physical toughness, and that's why we took on such an ambitious schedule as we have here at the start, because we've got to prepare ourselves for that race.
Let's talk a little bit about the season started at a quarterback race between Clayton and Stokes. Clayton, unfortunately, kind of hurt his wrist in the Batesville game. Didn't get an opportunity to play him last Friday night. Looking to try to get him in within the next non-conference games to see what he can do. Well,
Clayton is a very, very good football player. He's a fine young man, works extremely hard. He unfortunately dinged up. There was a good race going on, dinged his wrist up a little bit. Tate comes in, moves the football team, things like that. We wouldn't hesitate at any time to call on Clayton to come in the football game. We have the greatest confidence in Clayton Etchison. It's still a good battle. Clayton got some live competition reps this past Monday against Springdale and against Mountain Home in a JV game, and we know what he can do for this football team. But I'm not a 2-quarterback guy.
Right.
And right now, Tate's our starter, but Clayton's not going to let him. He's not going to let him get comfortable. Because he's always going to be competing for the job. And like I say, we wouldn't hesitate to play Clayton. So,
but you're also one that doesn't lose his job on an injury.
No, that's true. And at the time, they were right together, and that's the way we practice them in practice. Clayton still takes snaps with the first team offense, and that's the way it's going to continue to be, because we know at some point, injury, sickness, unbeknownst, something's going to happen. Clayton's probably going to be our starting quarterback. And we want to feel and have our team feel comfortable and have him feel comfortable when he goes in the ball game. And one thing about Clayton and Tate, they're very good people, and they pull for each other, and they try to help each other, and that's the Goblin way, and that's the way we expect it.
And the guy waiting in the wings level, he's a good one coming too, and I'm sure he's pushing as well.
He's just a little green right now. He had a great game Monday night, threw a couple of touchdown passes against Springdale, and I tell you what, he's got the strongest arm of all of them.
Three of them.
He can throw it off his back foot and throw it 50 yards. I mean, but he's in that mix. But right now, we're comfortable with what we're doing. And when you're successful, that's what you keep doing. And we have, like I say, we have the utmost confidence in Tate. Tate can kind of beat you a couple different ways, with his feet, with his arm, and now with his feet.
Mm-hmm.
He can not only run it, he can kick it. So anyway, we like our team. The thing about our team is they work extremely hard. And anytime you work hard, you got a chance. And so we'll have a chance every time we go out there. And I thought that was a big difference between us and Sheridan. I thought talent-wise, we're about equal, but confidence-wise, I think we were a lot better off. I think our kids feel like anytime they go to a game, they're going to win, and that's real important. Or don't go. What I tell them, if you don't think we're going to win, don't make the trip.
Right.
I just want guys on that bus that feel like I do. Play anybody, anywhere, anytime. We don't care, and when we go, expect to win. And that's what I told Coach Campbell. We were talking about Saturday morning. He called me early Saturday morning. The biggest difference in our two teams right now, this is my 29th year here. This is your first year there. Expectation level is not the same. The confidence level is not the same. But it will be. If he stays there, he'll have him on the same path the Goblins are on.
Now, can we expect to see Level on the I didn't get to see him on the offensive side this past week. We showed that in the Batesville game. We're going to see it coming up anytime soon.
Well, I don't know about that. Right now, he's been on first team. He has spent most of his time in the defensive secondary at safety. Like I say, if need arose that we needed to play him, we would not hesitate to play him. Right now, our two quarterbacks are Tate Stokes and Clayton Etchison.
But I mean the combination of Stokes and Level on the field at the same time.
Well, we put him in there the other night. And he was in there at power back, what we call power back. We like him running at the goal line because he's so big and strong. Or we may slip him out of the backfield, let him catch one, or we may hand it to him, let him throw it. We don't know. Keep people on their toes.
That's what it works. Well, Coach, this was exciting for us to have our first coaches show this week. Next week you'll be back. We'll be talking about the highlights of hopefully a Goblin win as they put the Bombers and send them back to Baxter County with their first loss of the season. And the Goblins will be 2-0 after this Friday night.
Well, nothing would tickle me more. I hope everybody comes out. We had a big crowd last week.
And weather was perfect.
And I guarantee you, people, you better get there early because there's a ton of them coming from Baxter County. And seats will go early.
Real quick. Coach, we appreciate it. Until next week, this is the Coaches Show with Tommy Tice, and I'm your host, Lauren Tepper.